911, what is your emergency?
Units respond code 3 to a 1050 on the highway. Vehicles are blocking multiple
We're en route
lanes
to the
of travel.
hospital. Patient is currently having
We've got a
cardiac
4-alarm
arrest and has
fire
been
here.
intubated.
Send
Protesters
additional
are outside
trucks.
of City Hall and they are not complying with our
Out
orders
on one.
to
Hold the
disperse.
air.
In a rapidly changing world for first responders where it seems that every day the rules and norms are changing, there is one voice you can count on to give you the latest in emergency news. That is Lifeline. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Lifeline 911 with your host, Erica. I am your co-host, Gary, and it's good to be back with you all today.
Hello, everyone.
Now, Erica and I just got finished with the holidays for 2023, and that was quite a time, wasn't it?
It was an adventure, to say the least.
Yes. So let me ask you, what are some of the things that a person in the 911 or emergency field might notice if they are working over the holidays that someone who working at like a bank or some sort of 9-to-5 business might have a different life on?
Well, for one, if you are working at a bank, you are not at work on Christmas. You are not working overnight on Christmas. You're not working Christmas at all because the bank's closed. For crying out loud, even HEB closes, but we do not. It is, I think we touched on one of the other episodes about just that lifestyle and the things that you miss or you have to do differently in this environment versus out there in what I like to call the regular world, what regular people do. And regular people don't miss holidays with family. I think we were talking earlier at my family for Christmas did not expect me to be around. They knew, like many years before, the odds of me being at home were next to nil, and they don't even ask anymore. They pretty much expect for me to say, hey, I'm off for Thanksgiving or I'm off for Christmas. And they go, oh, hey. And then they make plans around that. But other than that, they just know I'm pretty much excluded. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just the way it is. They're used to it.
Yeah. I mean, because, you've been doing this for 2 decades now. So that's a lot of Christmases and Thanksgivings and Easters to kind of miss.
Yeah.
And we almost didn't make it through these holiday seasons, you and me.
Oh, my God.
We got rather sick, didn't we?
We had the cedar fever. I don't know. I believe it was cedar fever for me.
Yeah, I think I had the flu. That was rough.
You started looking pretty rough.
Yeah.
Probably a couple of days before, right?
Yeah.
You started feeling kind of, and I think I was asking you, are you coming down with something?
Yeah, and I was hoping it was just cedar fever, but I don't think it was.
For anybody that lives in the Central Texas area, you know what cedar fever is because the Austin area is
A hotbed.
It is.
The hotbed.
It is the hotbed. It is the, what is it? I think I've heard tell that it's the allergy capital of the state.
Maybe the world. Because I know we're on like the corner of like 5 different allergy regions in Austin.
Now, see, I didn't even know that much.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
My poor husband, who is on his 3rd year in the state, from Colorado, is miserable.
Yeah, coming from beautiful Colorado with no problems whatsoever.
No, there are really no, and I lived there for almost 5 years, and I don't recall any allergies at all. And, you come back here, and it's a hot mess. So, what was it, Christmas? I ended up going homesick, and you were on your way to being sick.
Yeah, I mean, I felt really bad. Christmas Eve and Christmas, and then the day after, and like we also had a bunch of mandatories because everybody else was sick.
Everybody else was sick, and maybe not so much sick, and maybe just people haven't come quite to grips with the fact that we are 24/7, 365 nights, weekends, and holidays. So where some people were not at work, we were, and for longer than we wanted to be.
Oh yeah. But it was a really long, difficult week, and it was everything I could do to just be alive.
So glad it's over. So glad.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Christmas and I love the holidays.
Sure.
They're wonderful, but they are sometimes really hard to get through.
And this year was one of those.
Yeah.
It'll go down in the history where Gary and I were looking like death warmed over a couple of times over. It
Yeah.
was pretty ugly.
And we weren't the only ones.
No,
Like we have
no.
like I don't know about like you guys where you work, but like we had just a ginormous rash of people being very ill.
Yes. And it's still going on.
It's still going on.
And I don't know what it is because I think one of our coworkers was talking about how it's the flu. There's a new strain of or a new variation of COVID on top of the allergens being higher than they've been in a long time.
The hantavirus, Ebola,
You name it.
avian flu. We got
So,
them all.
All of that stuff is just one big ball of yuck right now. And it's hard to know what you have.
Yeah. It's you just know that you got something.
It's
and-
awful.
Yeah.
And you just want to die.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
thank goodness for NyQuil. Let me tell you.
NyQuil and antihistamines.
Yeah.
That's what did it for me, and melatonin. I went home Christmas. I think was I here for only a couple of hours, maybe a couple of 3 hours.
Yeah, I think till like around 5 or so.
And I just could not do it anymore. And I got home. I just started slinging stuff everywhere. Dropped my bags, my purse. I went and got into my PJs, crawled into the bed, and that was the end of that for a few days.
Yeah.
And I needed it.
Yeah. And like I think that is one of the like big things that is something that if you're interested in this profession, you really have to take into account because you can read, you're working, nights, weekends, holidays, mandatory. You can hear that, the interviewer can ask you that question, but
Yeah.
until you actually go through it, like it's a mental I don't know, barrier that some
Yeah.
people, like a lot of people have trouble with to stay in this career long term.
And you're 100% right because having 2 decades plus, and you are, what is it, 15
Yeah, 15.
years? So,
Still waiting on my pen.
hello. But you're right. Even I did not really process it until that first year. And I remember thinking, okay, so I work Thanksgiving. Surely they're going to flip it, right? So if you work Thanksgiving, then that means you're off for Christmas. Or if you work Christmas, then, New Year's you'll be off.
Yeah.
Or one of those or some sort of a fair system. There is not.
Nope.
It is the way that your days off fall. And yes, of course you can request the time off. And if we have the bodies, great. But if we don't, then as we may have mentioned before, it's always a body for a body.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to work for you and you may end up with the time off, and great. But literally, if you should decide that you want to pursue this profession, when they say nights, weekends, holidays, they mean it.
They mean it. They really do.
I mean, they really, really, really mean it. And when they say mandatory overtime, actually, speaking of which, just this past holiday, we had a call-in for New Year's Eve. And I had not had to go to our mandatory list. And for those that may not know what that is, that's a list of all of the people that are on a shift. And, the last time that you were forced to work beyond your 8-hour, 10-hour, 12-hour shift, whatever that is for you, there's a list. So it was his turn. This one gentleman, it was his turn. And he's fairly new, less than, maybe 6 months. Maybe 6 months.
Yeah.
And he'd never experienced it. So when I messaged him and said, hey, you're up, and there is no out time. And out time means I do not know when you are leaving. You are staying. I just don't know when you're going to go home. And
Yeah.
he was, if I could see his face, I would have loved to have seen his face. It would have been funny, but it wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Because he was like, so is it 4 hours or, and I'm like, I don't know. He's like, so you mean, I don't know.
I don't know means I don't know.
literally really don't know. And that is what we mean by mandatory and or forced overtime because there has to be a body to replace you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like it's a hard concept to kind of really take into your being. Like
Yeah.
you have to really kind of like work an entire year, I think, to
Yeah.
get through all the holidays to realize, Valentine's Day, your plans might be ruined.
They very well may
yeah.
be.
Or, Easter, you might miss the bunny.
You very well may.
And I did find out that bunnies do not lay eggs, so Cadbury has been lying to everyone for a long time.
I hate to be the one to share this with you, Gary, but I kind of knew that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're that guy
Yeah.
that didn't.
I did not pass biology class.
Alrighty then. Yeah, no eggs.
But it's just a completely different mentality than you'd have like working a quote unquote normal job.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've got to nowadays go into the office. Like a lot of
Yeah.
jobs you don't.
Yeah.
You might not be able to take vacation time. It's like if you're interested in this profession, there are a lot of really positive aspects to it.
Sure.
And if you can get over the mental hump of thinking like of having that be such a drawback, the working nights, weekends,
Yes.
holidays,
Yes.
then it'll be fine. But just, you need to come into work every day knowing you might be here for 16 or more hours, depending on what's going on.
Yeah. And in fairness, that does not happen every single day.
No.
It actually happens.
Every other day. No.
It might, I think if for perspective, let's take a 30-day period of time. If we're talking about just normal life happening to your coworker, somebody comes down with cedar fever, or one of their children is sick, or their spouse is sick, or God forbid there's a death or something like that happen. Life is just happening. If we're talking about a normal 30-day period of time, the odds of you being forced into a whole other shift, an entire whole other shift, is less than, is it even 50% chance? I mean,
I would say it's lower than that,
Yeah.
at least for us right now,
yeah.
for most work groups. But it's not an everyday occurrence. But sometimes you will get hit like maybe 2 or 3 times a week. So if you're just really unlucky.
Yeah, kind of one of those when it rains, it pours.
It sure does.
Type
Yeah.
situations. But we strive to be realistic about some of the drawbacks in this profession, but we don't want to, or at least I don't want to paint the picture that it's just doom and it's just gloom and it's just you're always going to miss the things that are important to you, because there are some amazing people in this environment that we work in, and I'm sure that's the case in many agencies all over the world, or even the country for sure, where if there is an important event in your life, let's say you're getting married or something like that, people step up
Yeah.
to help you. And even you and I, as supervisors, we will pore over the roster to see where we can make this happen. And there have been times where we will work ourselves
Yeah.
to fill in for
Many times, yeah.
many times to save our people from that dreaded mandatory or that life event that we don't want you to have to make that choice. I'm going to get married or not come to work. Let me see.
Yeah.
Which one?
I remember when I was a dispatcher years ago, we had another one of the dispatchers that worked here passed away, and I was on night shift at the time. And day shift really stepped up, and all of them came in early so we could all go to the funeral, which it was a very tragic event, of course, but it also really helped build a lot of camaraderie.
Yeah.
And I think that working in emergency communications, you have that occur a lot where you have a really hard or tragic event, and then everybody kind of comes together to get through that, and that helps build, really, really strong bonds.
Which actually, you're right, because this is a family where we do all the things that family does. We squabble, at times, but we also love on each other. I mean, it's been many years ago, but there was a fire at my duplex many years ago, and before I could come to work the next work day, the message had gone out to the entire division, and people had flooded my box with, "What can we bring you?" They thought that my whole house had burned, and so I had nothing, not even the clothes on my back, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there was a team of people already working like our in-house Red Cross,
Yeah.
which we don't even have.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
But that's another picture of what happens. And then doubling back to the holidays, it's not just a sterile work environment when we're here for the holidays. I mean, right after Thanksgiving, our tree goes up.
Yeah.
And we have lights everywhere and candy canes everywhere and stockings with individual names on them. And someone always brings the decorations, and they go out on the tables, and there's markers and glitter pens and stickers and all kinds of things. And it literally looks like what would you say?
I hesitate to say winter wonderland, but like it definitely makes you feel the spirit of Christmas, and like it's a really nice change. I don't know who does these decorations. It's not me, because it's somebody that's skilled at this, but like it's always
We
really.
have a person. I know a guy.
Yeah.
A gal.
I know a gal too, I think, that does it. But like it's really, really nice and uplifting. And I think working in emergency communications, I have experienced a lot of sense of community and camaraderie that I don't know necessarily that you get in a lot of other professions.
Yeah.
Because there's just, high highs and low lows here.
Definitely.
And, I've worked many Christmases and Thanksgivings and whatnot, and I definitely don't regret working any of them.
I don't either.
Yeah,
because we have everything. We have, there is no shortage of food most of the time.
Yep.
There is all kinds of goodies, and
Except
ahead
for-
and complain.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Gary.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, except for Snowpocalypse, but we'll talk about that later.
Snowpocalypse. I thought he was going to complain about our salad bar.
Oh,
that
okay.
we had for Christmas.
So let me talk about that for just a second, because I feel like I've been thrown under the bus here. So we had a potluck that we were going to do, and it was desserts and all the normal things that you bring for a Christmas potluck, and not enough people signed up. So to punish us,
Really?
okay, maybe not, but it was changed to a salad bar, and I'm like, what? This is awful.
It was not awful.
What? Why would you do this?
Because no one signed up. Because we'd done a bang-up job on the Thanksgiving, and you got to know your audience, guys. You know, there are those people that love to cook, and let's be real. Night shift in our world is the reigning champion, if you will, of potlucks. I mean, these people don't play around. It's a little scary. Nobody wants to come behind that.
Yeah.
Think, I don't know, a buffet of anything and everything. I mean, these people go theme, all right?
Yeah.
For Cinco de Mayo, there's a whole theme.
Every month.
Every month, and if there is a theme, they are going to kill it. So now evening shift, which is where Gary and I work, not so much.
Yeah, we just kind of eat the leftovers of day shift and
That
night.
is not true at all. But let's just say if it's a competition, we know better than to go against that. So we really stepped up and did a bang up job for Thanksgiving, and now it was Christmas, and nobody wanted to do all that cooking again. So we decided we were going to do Christmas and the birthdays for the month of December, all of that, and people were like, nope, not doing it. So we made the decision to think, okay, so we have a lot of healthy type people on our shift. Maybe we will attempt to appeal to them. And as soon as we changed it to a salad bar, everybody was like, I'm in.
Yeah, everybody.
And we even had someone who knows a special someone who owns a restaurant or works as a sous chef or something like that in a restaurant. They brought the whole salad, and
Yeah.
we had a nice spread.
Yes, the salad was very nice.
It was. It just wasn't typical.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's kind of being untypical is typical in emergency communications, I
Very
would
much
say.
so. Very much so. And we got to wear pajamas
Yes.
that day. Our lieutenant gave us permission to wear pajamas that day, which is a tradition that had been long-standing for a while. And then we had a little different leadership for a little bit, and so that it wasn't allowed. But it was nice to go back to that tradition, and hopefully we can continue that. So we can literally wear work appropriate and
Yeah.
rated G.
Yeah.
Non-political.
None of those skin tight pajamas.
Yeah, none of that cray-cray. But we were able to wear leisure wear sweatpants, and I had on my big oversized sweatshirt and my polar bear PJ bottoms and my slippers. So I was quite comfortable,
Yeah, I think I wore a suit and tie that day, if I recall.
which was so weird.
It was
the
a
only
Christmas
guy
tie.
in the
It was a Christmas
building
tie.
with a suit on. Go
Yeah.
figure.
Anyway, so
Yes.
working on holidays can definitely be a challenge if like you're not used to it.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the things that you, I guess, in your family do, or what kind of traditions have you guys come up with since you do work on like holidays? Usually, do you normally say we're going to exchange gifts like whenever I'm off, or like how do you kind of work around that?
We don't really have a structure. We just exchange gifts whenever I'm off. Like if it happens to be Christmas Eve, then sure. If it's 2 or 3 days after or 2 or 3 days before, whenever I am off and can be there, that's when we do it. Now, when it comes to the small children in our family, which, we save those things for them, but the adults, we will just exchange
Yeah.
and be fine with it. But we preserve all the Christmas wonder and all of that stuff for the littles.
As you should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said, my family is accustomed to it. And they are so incredibly proud of the work that I do that they don't resent it. It just took some time for us all to become accustomed to what that was going to look like. And if you decide to make the leap into this profession, we have families that do Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
They do Christmas Eve, or they just pick a day that week, and that is the day. They leave their tree up several days after, or whatever that looks like. Because to these families, and I've heard them say that it's not about the day of, it's about the being together, and they just become very creative.
Straight out of a Hallmark movie.
It's
I
the
love
truth,
it. I
though.
love
It's
it.
so
Yeah.
true.
I will say that if you, no matter what your job is, if you realize that having to be somewhere on Christmas is not, and stressing out about that is not as good as just enjoying time with your friends and family when you can get there,
Yeah.
whenever that is, a day or two later, whatever, you'll be much happier.
You absolutely will, and we absolutely make the best of and the most of it when we are here together, because we are all here for that one common thing, and that is, as cliche as it may sound, but it is to serve the public, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, someone has to answer the phone, and someone has to answer the other. Has to be here on the other end of the radio for the first responders out in the field.
Yeah.
So
Because it's really the only government job like the first responders that is truly 24/7, 365. Because
Yeah.
even the trash men, like, they'll take Christmas off.
Yeah.
Not throwing any shade on them.
No,
they
not
do a
at
great
all.
job.
No.
But it's really the only organization that is all day, every
Literally.
day.
there is no
It's like
such
7-Eleven.
animal as no kidding.
Yeah, we may not be doing business, but we're always open.
That's so true. Very true.
Yeah. So, do you have any kind of tips or tricks for what someone who's maybe just starting out in this profession might be able to do in terms of like letting their family know, hey, I'm not going to be available for Christmas or Thanksgiving or what have you, and like how to kind of bring that up to them?
I would say start early.
Yeah.
If you know, the sooner you know that you are going to most likely be working on that day, I suggest you let your family and or your friends know. And so much of how they're going to respond is going to hinge on how you present it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you are, if you have embraced this profession and your role in it, and you are filled with the pride of being able to serve and knowing that so everyone else out there can enjoy their holiday, we have to be here to keep watch. And that is actually a lot of the way that I presented it to my family. Because, and granted, this has been, 2 decades ago, but it took me about 5 years to get them completely on board.
Yeah.
To the point where they became, well, that's not fair. I will say, to get them to the place where we could find an alternative way to celebrate and not be wrapped up in the fact that it didn't happen on the day. So much of that hinged on how I presented it to them. I was excited and I was proud to stand watch so everyone else could enjoy their holiday. So I think it's mindset more than anything.
Yeah. I will say, though, it's not really a holiday, but it does suck to work night shift when it's fallback time.
Yes.
Because everybody else in the world is happy for this.
But we are not.
Because it's like, oh, I get an extra hour of sleep. Da-da-da-da-da.
Yep.
Night shift, you have to work another hour.
Yeah.
And in Texas, at least, that hour is from 1 a.m. or it's at the end of 1 a.m. before it becomes 2 a.m.
Yep.
So you have another hour of people drinking.
Very true.
Before they drive home. And
so last call is not really last call.
Yeah.
There's 2.
Yeah.
Or is there?
I think it's just 1.
Okay, well.
Because it goes from 1:59 to 1. And it makes for a very long night every year.
It really, really does. We get paid extra though, right?
Yeah.
It's overtime.
Yeah. Oh, and on the flip side, though, when you spring forward,
It's nice.
yeah, it's only 7-hour work night.
It's only, and then day shift, they come in and they're like, cry me a river. I'm out.
Yeah, that's why I like evening shift.
Happy medium.
Yeah, don't got to deal with either ends of those spectrums.
Yep. Happy medium.
But yeah, I would say that working over the holidays is, for me as well, a sense of pride. Thinking like, I'm hopefully helping somebody, and that for me makes me feel really good about what I do.
Absolutely, I agree.
And then we have, of course, our sometimes callers that call on like Christmas. I think I mentioned her before, but we had a lady that used to call on Christmas when I first started working here and would sing, "We wish you a Merry Christmas."
That's awesome.
Yeah, and generally the 911 lines aren't too crazy.
No.
So that was always a really nice feeling.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all the time we have for today.
Yep.
But thank you all for joining us. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. As always, if you have any questions or comments you'd like, please feel free to send them in because we'd love to take a look at them and answer them on the show.
Absolutely.
And from us at Lifeline 911, I'm Gary.
And I'm Erica.
And we will see you next time.
Thank you for watching our production of Lifeline 911 podcast. If you have any questions about the topics we discussed today, or if there's something specific you'd like us to cover in a future episode, send us your questions at lifeline911podcast@gmail.com. Stay safe out there. Until next time, this is Lifeline 911 signing off.